Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Mosai, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten Son name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapos Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shah. So we got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elder bishops and elders of great millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, ready accepted or not. In the sincere salutation to all the occupant pushing his truth and believing his truth, throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the whole elect. And shalom to the Awwa who are listening and learning, you few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Orlando County, coming at you with another lesson. In true facts, faith, and edification, another day of edification, Lord, will us be edified. So I titled this lesson, Growing Pains, Growing Hunger Pains, and Calamities Leading to Jacob's Trouble. Growing hunger pains and calamities leading to Jacob's trouble. Lord, will us be edifying. So this is copyright. This is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. You see it. So I got 3 clips here I'm going to play. Select you. Because Jacob trouble is approaching. And the way the Lord do things is through measurements. It's through measurements. It's through conditioning and gradualism, how the Lord do things. Oh, Salakia. So, hold on.
Everything about energy is changing.
Damn infomercial. Salakia. Give me a second here. Let me get rid of this. All right, so let me pull this back up. It's going to be some infomercials in these 3 clips I got, so just bear with me. I'm going to turn this volume down as well.
At this point, we all know that food shortages are coming, and with each passing day, more industry executives are warning about upcoming price increases and supply chain hiccups that may keep grocery shelves empty this winter. Some of you may not remember, but in May, even the federal government said that food shortages are going to be real, and some major humanitarian organizations are sounding the alarm about famines of biblical proportions and other disasters that are hitting our crops and meat production capacity. The stage is set for a turbulent 2023 for our food supply chains, but we still have the opportunity to get ready before the chaos begins. That's why in today's video we've compiled several tips that may help you to prepare for the challenges ahead. Before checking this list, please support us with a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future lists. Without further ado, here are 20 ways to prepare for the upcoming food shortages. 1. Identify specific shortage risks in your area. Is your geographical location more likely to experience a drought, a flood, tornado, wildfire, high winds, earthquakes, or some other natural disaster? It's important to consider these events because they can happen fast and with little warning, leaving you and your family without food or without fresh water. The first step is to find out what food shortages are most likely to occur in your area. This will help you know what to stock up on and how much you need. You can find this information in your local government or emergency management office. On top of that, you can check for national food shortages on the USDA website. It's essential to have a minimum of 3 days' worth of food and supplies to be used specifically when disasters hit until emergency responders are able to reach you. The easiest way to get a 3-day emergency supply of food is to buy a pre-made kit that can be stored for the long term. But you can also pack your own emergency food as well. Just make sure to store it in its own bucket or bag that you can carry with you if you need to leave your home in a hurry. 2. Don't panic buy. Instead, buy 2 items at a time. Whenever you go to the store to stock up on items you might need, instead of grabbing as many as you want and stripping bare grocery shelves, get 2 of the same product, one to consume in the short term and another one to go straight to your pantry. For instance, let's say you need a peanut butter jar. Then you buy 2 containers, eat the first, put the second in storage. After the first one is over, you go to the store again and buy 2 more. And that way, you can start to build up your stockpile without spending your entire food budget all at once or even going into debt to afford the products that you need. It's also important to only store products you'll actually consume. Otherwise, you'll be wasting your money. And don't forget to use the item that's getting closer to the expiration date first. 3. Grow a garden. You don't have to change the entire landscape of your home to start a garden. The first step is learning gardening skills that are going to be helpful during times of food scarcity. If you live in urban areas, you can start with a few pots or buckets on your balcony or even grow indoor sprouts and microgreens under grow lights. You can also consider a community garden with your neighbors. For those who live in suburban areas and space is not such a big issue, raised beds are a great alternative for keeping everything neat and organized, but you can also plant things straight in your soil. Even though starting a garden might not be a possibility for everyone, having the skill is just as important as having the space. Like so, you'll be able to relocate wherever you want and still grow your own food during challenging times.
You see that?
4.
That's bullshit.
Buy
That ain't finna work, man. This devil say, even though starting a garden might not be possible for everyone, having a skill is just as important as having a space. Like so, you'll be able to relocate wherever you want and still grow your own food during challenging times. You ain't gonna be able to grow nothing during no Jacob's trouble, man. And see, this is the garbage that Esau Edom push, man. It's gonna be a time of trouble, man. An evil time. Ain't gonna be no time to grow nothing, man. And see, Jake be believing this crap, man.
Having the skill is just as important as having the space. Like so, you'll be able to relocate wherever you want and still grow your own food during challenging times. 4. Buy locally. If growing your own food is something you don't want or cannot do, another great option that will allow you to have a better sense of food security is buying locally. A large share of the food supplies we eat and consume on a daily basis comes from large corporations and a handful of farmers and ranchers with extensive operations. The problem is that if one single disruption hits any step of their processes, we might see some inventory holes at our local stores, and if those problems last for a few days or even weeks, will be vulnerable to experiencing prolonged
And this is finna play out, man. Famine mean it ain't gonna be no food, man. For the lower level people, for the meek and lowly, ain't gonna be no food. And that's what it's called, a famine, man. It's gonna set in, as it tell you in Lamentations 4. It's gonna set in, and you're gonna pound away slowly, man.
shortages. That's why supporting local small farmers is something we all should do. Their crops are usually more diverse, they use fewer pesticides, and you'll be able to get seasonal fresh food right from the source. 5. Get creative with the protein you eat. Protein is one of the most important components of our diets. They help us to build muscle, repair tissues, and also produce enzymes, hormones, and antibodies. Most dietary protein comes from animal products, but you can find it in beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and soy. Beans and lentils are the least expensive protein source available, and they're one of the best foods for long-term storage because they provide good nutrition and calories in a small space. You can use beans to make stews, salads, soups, chili, baked casseroles, and even burger patties. They're an amazing source of protein, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and fiber, and also very versatile. So you got many options when planning your meals. And the best part is they can last up.
You see this plastic tote right here? Well, I'm going to show you something right now. Now, some people are concerned that they might have to go for a long period of time without outside food. That's why 4 Patriots is blowing up with thousands of requests for our survival food.
You see,
and I should mention that when you get one of these heavy-duty 4-week survival food kits,
we're gonna be in real time. They can push these clips. They can push these commercials. It's gonna be real time, man. All that, the MREs and all that, man, that's gonna be the thing of the past, man.
Years before losing their vitamins, which is a great advantage during times when food is scarce. 6. Stock up on more than just food. Having a reliable supply of gas, fuels, medicines, cleaning products, self-defense tools, and building supplies is also essential to get prepared. Although you might ask why you'll need all of those things for food shortages, the truth is that during challenging times, you can barter some of the supplies you stocked up for the food you may need later on, or even use some of those tools to provide someone a service that can be paid with something else you might want. Scarcity oftentimes leads people to panic buy, which may create shortages of other goods too. So make sure you have a reliable stockpile of other critical products as well. 7. Make sure you have an adequate supply of water. Above all else, we all need enough water to be able to survive. You should have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. You'll need this for drinking, cooking, and hygiene. Don't forget to include pets in this calculation. You can also purchase water purification tablets and large containers that can hold the amount of water your family needs in the longer term. Fill those containers and store them in a cool area away from sunlight until you need them. 8. Learn how to preserve your food. Knowing how to make your food last longer can help you get through tough winters where crops freeze, or even droughts that may result in extensive crop losses. You can use processes that can be made with the tools you probably already have in your kitchen. Using proper containers for grains and dry goods, canning fruits and vegetables, freeze-drying or dehydrating meats can make the shelf life of your supplies double or even triple if everything is well stored. That will not only save you a lot of money, but prevent you from letting food go to waste. 9. Buy whole grains for long-term storage. Grains are rich in protein, and they should be the foundation of any food stockpile. Whole grains like wheat can have up to 25 years of shelf life, and you can buy them in bulk for a cheap price with local producers or even in online promotions. You should also remember Buy good quality grain mill to be able to process your grains and create many different recipes. 10. Get rid of your debt. Stay away from credit cards. To be able to be prepared for food shortages, you'll also need to have good
The world, especially Jake, is already in. Jake is already in over debt, man. Now, how you gonna get rid of debt when the checks is not matching up? With the money that Jake make is not matching up. So how you supposed to get rid of debt, man? Because these devils ain't giving you, what is that 7 year wiping the slate clean, like the Lord, like the in the law. So how you supposed to get rid of debt? See, all this is illusions, man. That's why I tell you in Second Corinthians 10 that the truth is casting down imaginations, man. Because Jake is living in an imaginary world, man. How you supposed to get rid of debt? And the checks, inflation is up, and your checks is not matching your bills, man.
financial
It's
security.
easy for
Even
somebody
though
to tell
some
you
people
this.
may think it's better that
It's easy for somebody to tell you this that got money, man. That got money. It's easy for somebody to tell you this that got money. And they are financially well off, man.
to have large amounts of food for a potential storage and buy it on a credit card, that may only make things more complicated in the long run. Financial setbacks will prevent you from dealing with other emergencies that may appear in your life and will leave you with fewer options. Apart from the necessary payments we might have to do, such as mortgages, car, or student loans, try not to add more to your debt burden and stay away from consumer debt.
See?
11.
See? Jake want all these damn challenges and charges, but they caught up. Total household debt surpasses 16 trillion in QT 2022. Mortgage, auto loan, and credit card balance increase because Jake keeping up with the Joneses, man. What is that? First John 2:15, right? The lust of the eyes and the pride of life, the cares of this world, man. Keeping up with the Joneses. So Jake got debt, man. Even the ones that went to college and got bachelors and masters and associates, PhDs, they got student loans, man.
More to your debt burden and stay away from consumer debt. 11. Learn how to cook from scratch. In our modern era, we've become accustomed
And
to the convenience of
hey, we push that heavy over here for these women, man. Learn how to cook, man. You should know how to cook from scratch, man. All that going out eating, dealing with, you don't know what's in the food, what's being put in it, man, and who's cooking it, and what they doing to your food. It's better to go and get the meal, go to the grocery store and get these meals, even for a date. You going out on a date with somebody, it's best to just, hey, let's just get this food and go, and we can go cook this together. Cause you don't know what's going on, man. But this is the world. This is want to be enjoying life and going out to eat and all this and that, man. But people don't understand we in some chaotic times, man, and it's only going to get worse. And the only one that can see this is them that have the eyesight. Because again, the only one's going to have food is the elites of these Edomites and the elect of Israel, man. Ain't gonna be no food for the in-betweens.
industrialized food and ready-to-eat meals. But if our supply chains keep failing to meet consumers' demand, knowing how to properly cook all the food you planted or stored
And what's
means
crazy is you can go to Google or YouTube and just type in like recipes for whatever you want to eat, and you can just go get the groceries and cook it at home, man. It's safer, it's better. You know what's going in it, and you know who's cooking it, man. But everybody want to just go out and be entertained, man. And that's the customs of Esau, man. Because we have been westernized on all sides, man. Of course, we want to get out and go out every now and then and go. Listen, man. These times we in now, it's not the time for this, man.
That your food security will not be threatened. There are many prepper cookbooks out there that can be immensely helpful in those situations. The best part is you don't have to learn everything right now. You can just open the book whenever you got the time and learn as you go. 12. Build a community of like-minded people in your area. Building relationships
You
with the
see?
people that live
Hey,
near you.
that's only gonna be with the hopeful elect, man. That's only gonna be with the hopeful elect. Because 2 Corinthians 6 and 14 say, be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. So the community that's being built, as he just said, build a community of like-minded people in your area. Well, these like-minded ones, let me get that.
Like-minded people in your
Salakia.
area.
Salakia. Let me get this real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 37. In verse 12, I think it is. This is Sirach 37. In verse 12, it reads, it say, but be continued with a godly man, who thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. And let the counsel of thy own heart stand, for there is no man more faithful unto thee than it. You see? So, this is the time we coming in, man, to be of them that's like-minded. And this only applies to the hopeful elect.
Building relationships with the people that live near you will not only help you survive, but thrive when times are tough. With the combined abilities and skills of your community, you can achieve a lot more than you would on your own. Some of the most successful independent communities we had throughout history were able to stay resilient in face of adversity because they were not only self-sufficient, but also community sufficient. 13. Remember to stockpile pet food, livestock, and poultry feed. Even after 2.5 years into the pandemic, we're still seeing empty shelves where pet food supply should be. If you do have pets, don't forget to make preparations for each of them. And if you don't, having some pet food cans in your pantry to barter in the long run, or even to use as bait during hunting and fishing trips.
Man, these animals gonna be food. In Jacob's trouble, these animals gonna be food, man. These Edomites gonna be eating these animals. There's a lot of Jake females love these little Shih Tzus and Maltese and these different little small dogs, man. Okay, these little ghetto Taco Bell dogs and these Maltese and Shih Tzus and all these different. They're gonna be food, man.
Is also a good idea.
Man.
In case you're raising animals for meat and eggs, ensure a steady supply of feed for them. Otherwise, they may starve and you'll end up losing the investment you made in them. 14. Plant fruit, nut trees, and perennial food-producing plants. Perennial food plants, bushes, and trees often
Man,
take
it's
a
heavy because that's what we ate, man. When Jake got the slave ships over here, none of our people was obese, man. We ain't have women and men that was obese in Israel, man. Okay? This diet that we eating over here, Jake got meat in every meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It got meat in it, man. You can't get Jake to eat fruits and nuts for nothing, man. Why? Because of the philosophies of this devil, man. And the apostles and elders, bishops and elders go into this all the time, man. You have to, and that's why they tell you in Galatians 5, you got to walk in the spirit, man. that you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh, man. You got to make yourself get fruit, man. You have to make yourself get fruit and vegetables, man, and eat on different type of nuts, man. Because the flesh want to eat meat every day, all day. The flesh want to eat garbage food all day, man. When famine hit, you ain't gonna know how to, cause most Jake don't know how to go without eating, man. Like when we do the Day of Atonement, that's just one day. And I say this all the time to the brothers. Just what if, you got to think about this. Just what if one day it's going to be no food for a whole 3-4 days? Can you go 3-4 days without eating? Just what if this really plays out, man? What if it be just a whole 24 hours? Ain't going to be no food and no water. And you got to be on the move. Can you go 24 hours without no food and no water? Because most people can't. Jake gonna be destroyed out here, man, because this devil got Jake binge eating food, man. Jake don't know how to go without eating, man. And it's gonna hurt. That's gonna be a part of what the Lord said in Isaiah 66:4. He will choose their delusions, he will bring their fears upon them. One of those fears is eating, man. What if, man? You better think about it. It's gonna be a day, ain't gonna be no food and water. What if you gotta go 2 days without food and water, man? Are you training your body for this?
Long time to establish, but it's gonna be worth it in the long run because you'll have abundant harvests. It's a major asset for ensuring food security. Since it doesn't require seeds or planting every year, the harvest usually just comes. Choose to plant things that grow well in your area naturally and don't require excessive water or any spraying of chemicals in order to make it work.
Hey, shalom to all the argument I walk on the comment board. Shalom. The water for tuning in. Yeah, Bashim Awashah, Barakathon. Shalom, Bashar. Shalom, brother.
15. Consider relocating outside major urban centers. When things go south, conditions usually get extremely chaotic in big cities way before people
So there is a new government program that is giving away free smartphones with
who live in smaller rural areas notice that something is wrong. If you live in a big city, you also may not be able to find the space for an adequate emergency pantry, and your ability to take care of yourself and your family may get compromised by shutdowns and external disruptions you may not have control over. Becoming self-sufficient in such an environment is also more difficult, given that living costs tend to be much higher. So relocating somewhere safe will allow you to have a better quality of life and stay away from turbulent uprisings that may occur when people realize that food shortages are not temporary.
And it ain't gonna be nowhere safe, man. If you are not part of the hopeful elect, man, there's not gonna be anywhere safe for Jake, man. Becoming self-sufficient. Man, ain't gonna be no self-sufficient in Jacob's trouble. Becoming self-sufficient in such an environment is also more difficult given that living costs tend to be much higher. So relocating somewhere safe will allow you to have a better quality of life. It ain't gonna be nowhere safe in Jacob's trouble. And see, this is the garbage. These guys bring out good information, but this is the garbage that they say, man. Quality of life and stay away from turbulent uprising that may occur when people realize that food shortages aren't temporary. You ain't gonna be able to hide nowhere, man. You ain't gonna be able to hide nowhere, man. Jacob's trouble, it's gonna be all mayhem out here, man. Pandemonium, man. You ain't gonna be able to hide. The only one that's gonna be able to hide is the hopeful elect, man. And if you are not prepping right now to be part of the hopeful elect, you ain't gonna make it, man. Cause there ain't no gray areas with Yahweh Shema Shah. But this is the garbage that these devils push to our people, man. Because again, the famine's going to play out to the lowly, man. The only ones going to eat is the elites of these Edomites and the elect of Israel, man. That's it. Everybody else going to die, either being starved out or going to be getting robbed, raped, murdered, pillaged and plundered, man. Just like these devils did when they came over here and slaughtered the so-called the Native American Indians and the Seminole Indians and the so-called Mexicans, man. It's gonna be all pandemonium out here. Ain't gonna be no safe place.
16. Readjust your priorities. When we start planning to stock up on food, we might get a little scared about the cost of building our own emergency pantry. The truth is that not everyone can afford to have a huge stockpile or buy high amounts of supplies and large numbers of containers from one day to the other just to get things started. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can start saving money, but rearranging your spending priorities, such as canceling streaming subscriptions, selling old items you don't use anymore on Craigslist, or organizing a garage sale. You can also sell your car and buy an older model, start thrifting for clothes, and cook more at home, as opposed to eating out and skipping extravagant vacation plans. The most crucial thing is to focus on your goal and cut unnecessary expenses in other areas of your life. 17. Don't waste food. You know, the United States ranks number 1 in the list of countries with the highest levels of food waste. We throw away between 30 to 40% of the nation's food supply every year.
Man, listen. I work at Cracker Barrel, man. These people throw away thousands of dollars of food every night. In all the restaurants on the strip. So you got the Cracker Barrel, the Waffle House, you got the Red Lobster, you got Ruby Tuesdays, you got the Olive Garden. They throw away food, thousands of dollars of food every night, man. Every day. And it's people that's homeless out here that can eat that food, man. But because of one person down here in Florida, I know down here in Orlando, this woman that used to go homeless, they used to go to the homeless shelters and get food. She sued them. And they stopped giving the food to the homeless people down here, man. So they just throw the food away, man. Hundreds and thousands of dollars of food in these restaurants. I'm talking about all over Orlando. I'm talking about restaurants. I'm talking about Carrabba's and all these restaurants, man. Applebee's and Chili's, Longhorn Steakhouse. These people throw away food every night, man. And there's thousands upon thousands of restaurants. When you go to this strip down here in International, in Orlando, that's what the whole Aquatica and the Universal Studios and all that, man. Thousands upon restaurants, thousands, man. And they throw away food every night, man. And it's homeless people. Guess what? That food gonna be, man, listen, Jake, this devil got Jake living, eating in a comfort zone. These foods gonna be gone, man. And then what you gonna do? You're gonna pound away. Cause ain't gonna be no food for the lowly, man. For them that's not seeking you, how about your mama shot right now? It ain't gonna be no food, man.
Yeah. Now that's a shocking amount of food, especially in the current scenario,
80
when
billion
food
pounds
shortages are
food
looming.
wasted each year.
Of course, there isn't much we can do about the big corporation agricultural waste, but on an individual level, we can make a difference. With some simple steps, such as getting only what we will eat at the store or
And
in
it's
our
every
garden,
day, man.
we can save a lot
Every
each
day.
month. If you have a surplus of a certain vegetable or fruit, try to preserve them before they expire. Storing food in sealed containers or even vacuum sealing the supplies you won't use right away are also.
Man, this never happened in the ancient time, man. There's never food wasted in the ancient time, man. But it's because of who's in rulership, man. That's why these devils gotta go, man. It's homeless people. We be downtown on Saturday night teaching. It's homeless people down there, man. And I ain't just talking about men sleeping out there. Edomites, Jake. I'm talking about it be men out there with their women. And they laying on the ground on the concrete. Late night, man. But they throwing away thousands of pounds of food every day, man. Because this devil, man.
So great options. Remember to rotate the foods that you eat so nothing goes bad. And whenever you can, use the whole vegetable, fruit, or meat. Try to incorporate the parts you don't normally use in broth, soups, sauces, or make dry spices you can use later. 18. Don't forget to stock up on preservation supplies. It's safe to say that.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? Most people probably haven't, but it could completely upend American life. You see, Section 4 of this order is set to completely overhaul our entire financial system, replacing our cash currency with a new programmable digital token. This would mean that all of your purchases, donations, income, and more could be tracked. Your accounts could be turned on or off outside of your control. In fact, I believe soon your physical dollars will be confiscated or will simply be worthless paper. This is without a doubt the most alarming development I've seen in my entire career, and I've seen a lot. My name is Jim Rickards. I've been an advisor to the Pentagon, the White House, Congress, the CIA, and the Department of Defense. I'm also an attorney, investment banker, and author of 7 books on currencies and international economics. When places like Fox, CNBC, or Bloomberg want to know what's about to shake up the global economy, they call me. Most of all, like you, I'm a proud American patriot. This disturbing prediction is based on my independent research and my contacts in the intelligence
community. Forget, he told you, because on what's this is the Biden Bucks on December the 13th, man, 2022. It's supposed to be a change in the currency, man. You can play with it if you want to. Play with it if you want to.
Eyes will disappear first when a disaster hits. So while we still have a window of opportunity to get ready for the coming food shortages, search for promotions on cans, canning lids, jars, pots, dehydrators, freeze dryers, sun dryers, containers, salt, sugar, vinegar, lemon juice, and other preservation supplies that will make...
All these guys are insiders, man. And they promote fear, man. They promote fear. That's another method of conditioning and gradualism, man, to make Jake conform to the new system. Well, the only ones that's not going to conform to this system is the hopeful elect, because they're not going to conform nor comply to these devils, man. But they use fear tactics. Jim Rickards is an insider, man. Because if he wasn't, they would have been killed, that Edomite, man. He bring out too much information, man. And he's talking about how they're going to stop your money and make you convert to digital currency, man. Why is he still alive? He's an insider. He promotes fear, man. Just like this guy here, Epic Economist. This guy, Jeremy Babe, Gerald Salente. These niggas are insiders, man. They promote fear to have the world in fear. Remember that they got a what's this called agenda called problem reaction solution, man. Okay, it promotes fear, man.
Your food lasts longer. 19. Learn how to properly store seeds. At the peak of the health crisis in 2020, we have all witnessed seed supplies being wiped out from supermarket shelves as consumer demand exploded overnight. If you have plans to grow your food, having a seed stockpile will allow you to plant whenever and wherever you want. Seeds can also be highly nutritious and incorporated into our diets to keep our health in check. And 20. Practice is key. The best way to get ready is to practice your survival skills with the supplies and tools that you have around you. Why not try to skip grocery shopping for a month? Make meals from scratch with the items you already have in your pantry. What about taking some time to create your own spices with vegetable peels you would otherwise throw away? Or even try growing some plants around your apartment.
Man,
at the end of the day, we'll all have to take action when things start falling apart all around us. So practicing for these scenarios will allow us to be better prepared for the challenges that are ahead, and also know how to solve any potential problems that may arise along the way. The window of opportunity to make preparations for the imminent food shortages is rapidly closing.
Hey, and we said it all the time, man. The doors of mercy are closing, man. Rapidly closing, man. The doors of mercy are rapidly closing, man. And Jake still running around here talking about Yah and all this other garbage, man.
Now it's time to start planning and acting if we want to be able to weather the perfect storm of events that is forming as.
And it's only one way, man. Isaiah 33 and 6. The wisdom of knowledge. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times, man. Beautiful point right here, man. The window of opportunity to make preparations for the kingdom for imminent food shortages is rapidly closing. Now it is time to start planning and acting if we want to be able to weather the perfect storm of events, which is Jacob's trouble, that is forming as we speak, man. Jacob's trouble. Let me get this. These devils is promoting fear, man. It's a fear tactic, man.
Brace yourselves, because as the seasons turn, U.S. households are set to see their energy bills get extraordinarily expensive. For the first time in nearly 5 decades, the entire Western world is preparing for widespread and rolling energy shortages during the winter, and things are getting particularly alarming in the United States, where energy reserves have dropped to the lowest levels since 1984. In face of the steep collapse of the nation's energy supplies, the only certainty around the ongoing energy price shock is that it's likely to get worse in the coming months as demand explodes all over the country. Some households may be facing an over 60% spike in their utility bills before the end of the year, while businesses are already doing everything they can to cut costs to be able to survive another dark winter. The situation is being described as frightening and shocking by the people who work in the energy industry. And what will happen next is going to send shivers up the spine of millions of Americans. That's what we're going to expose today. But before moving on, please support us with a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future videos. Some people may not realize yet that heating their homes this winter will be extremely expensive, especially since gasoline prices had been falling in recent months. In a lot of people's minds, gasoline and home energy are the same, explained Mark Wolf, NIEDA's executive director. The surprise here is that the prices for heating fuels are gonna be popping, he warned. The massive energy price surge that's now unfolding in America is directly linked to Europe's energy crisis. Over the past few months, the U.S. government sent record liquefied natural gas exports to Europe to help it boost supplies before winter. But as it tried to mitigate energy supply shortages on the other side of the ocean, our country was left with perilously low stockpiles to supply the national demand during the colder months. According to the latest data from the Energy Information Administration, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve has declined to its lowest level in 38 years. The nation's emergency crude stockpile dropped to 434.05 million barrels. It hasn't been that low since early November 1984, when the National Strategic Reserve hovered at around 436 million barrels, the organization noted. Since the conflict between Russia and Ukraine broke out, the White House introduced the 1 million barrels a day oil release plan using the country's emergency reserves. Bloomberg researchers reported that the federal government had planned to restock the National Energy Reserve after the price of crude oil fell below $80 per barrel. But market experts suggest that oil prices will remain well above that margin for the rest of the year. In short, this means that the administration's
Are you driving way less than you used to? Do you have a clean driving record? Are you over 25? Do you not have
strategy is poised to backfire, as noted by the industry expert Phil Flynn. The Biden administration admitting that they have to refill the reserve is an admission that their policy of using the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for political purposes will backfire. The administration is now acknowledging that they have to be prepared for a winter price spike, and that means that surging inflation may not be over at the gas tank or when you pay your heating bills, he said. That is to say, not only has the U.S. failed in providing effective help for its allies, but it's also left its population vulnerable to power shortages and brutal price increases at a time they need a reliable supply of energy the most. At this point, even Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is alerting us of price shocks that will chill Americans to the core this winter when they see their utility bills or pump gasoline. This winter, the European Union will cease, for the most part, buying Russian oil, and in addition, they will ban the provision of services that enable Russia to ship oil by tanker. That could cause a spike in oil prices, Yellen warned. With prices of oil and natural gas facing a steady rise, U.S. consumers are going to be economically eviscerated by the soaring costs and stuck with fewer energy supply alternatives. Oil makes up about half the price of a gallon of gasoline, and diesel fuel for vehicles like trucks and heating oil for homes are distilled from oil. Meanwhile, around 50% of all U.S. homes use natural gas to heat homes and water. On top of that, natural gas also is used to generate electricity, which is why electricity prices shot up 15.8% in August. Due to the struggle to fill our natural gas inventory before winter, natural gas prices have spiked to a 14-year high, and the elevated costs have prompted many people to switch to burning oil or burning coal for electricity. But the rush to hoard these alternative supplies was short-lived because their reserves have been almost entirely depleted last month. If current trends continue, Americans should get ready to pay 17.2% more on energy this month, on top of the increases recorded in previous months, according to estimates released by the National Energy Assistance Directors Association. Home heating is expected to reach a staggering $1,202, the highest price in more than a decade. To make things worse, the National Grid said last week it'll increase electricity rates by 64%, starting November the 1st and for the next 6 months. That's going to have a devastating impact on the finances of low-income families. Bank of America analysts wrote in a new note to clients that nationwide, a sizable share of Americans could come under pressure to make cuts in their other spending in order to keep the lights on. Similarly, NIADA's Mark Wolf pointed out, the rise in home energy costs this winter will put millions of lower-income families at risk of falling behind on their energy bills and having no choice but to make difficult decisions between paying for food, for medicine, and for rent. The organization announced last week that the cost of utility services will shoot up to $3,803, reflecting high prices for natural gas, heating oil, and propane, and this summer's heat waves. Right now, more than 20 million families, or about 1 of 6 American families, are already behind on their electricity bills and at risk of facing utility shutoffs. The outlook is even more chaotic in Europe, where authorities are sounding the alarm about spiraling electricity costs. A couple of weeks ago, the Prime Minister of France, Elisabeth Borne, said that Western populations should expect natural gas prices to rise 500% over 2021 prices, and electricity to rise 1,000% over 2021 prices by early 2023. People in France, the rest of Europe, and the United States are seeing utility bills that are about 10 times higher because utilities use natural gas to generate electricity. The utilities are passing along the increased price they must pay for the natural gas, and it is forcing people to choose whether they eat or have lights on, born stressed. It is now widely predicted that millions of people unable to keep up with the rising costs could literally freeze to death in their own homes because prices are so high. At the same time, countless businesses out there are losing hope that they will be
Hey, and it's crazy too, cause my like my electricity bill that went up, man. For real. Like this is really this is really happening, man. These devils done raised the electricity bill, man. Not even it's burning the same energy, man. And the bill done went up, man. It done went up. It's higher, man. For real than it was last year. Hey, but this is the Lord, because the Lord said he made the world for Israel's sake, man. And 2/3 gonna have to feel the wrath for the Lord, man. As it says in 2 Ezra 9, the same must know it after death by pain, man. Because Jake refused to repent. Well, they the 2/3. But the Lord is making examples to 2/3 and to the hopeful elect, man, to fear, man. Because it says, let me read this. In Psalms chapter 2, the Lord ain't playing, man, and he's making examples, man. And you're either going to learn from it or you're going to be destroyed by it. Psalms 2 and 10 reads, be ye wise. It say, be wise not therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Talking to the hopeful elect. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling, man. What is that? 2 Corinthians 5. It said, through the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. So serve Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling, man. It's to fear the Lord, man. Let's read this in Isaiah 33 and 6. Isaiah 33 and 6 reads, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. It say the fear of the Lord is his treasure, man. And the whole collective is storing up their treasures in heavens through the fear of the Lord, man. It said the fear of the Lord is his treasure, man. And most of our people don't fear Yahweh Shema Washah. Let's read this again, Psalms 2 and 11. It says, serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. When you read Psalm 65 and verse 5, it reads, by terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, the hopeful elect. It said, by terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us. So if you fearing the Lord and rejoicing with trembling, then the Lord is going to answer you by terrible things in righteousness, man. Heavy, man.
able to survive another dark winter because price caps do not apply to them. Many of them don't know how much more they can cut back. We can't turn off the lights and make our guests sit in the dark, said Richard Kovacs, business development manager for the burger chain Zing Burger.
What is the real story of January 6th? Many people have asked that question. Some people have
He revealed that his restaurants already run the grills no more than necessary and use movement detectors to turn off lights in spaces that aren't being used. But still, he's seeing a 750% increase in electricity bills since the beginning of the year. Thousands of winter fruit and vegetable growers who are key to the country's food supply are either shuttering greenhouses or absorbing severe financial losses in an attempt to get by. Bosch Growers, a company that grows green peppers and blackberries, has put up extra insulation, idled greenhouses, and experimented with lower temperatures. The result? Smaller yields, blackberries taking longer to ripen, and potentially operating in the red to maintain customer relationships even at lower volumes. We want to stay on the market, not to ruin the reputation we've developed over the years, the owner said, adding that we are in survival mode. Even big names such as J.P. Morgan are girding for a historic energy crisis. The bank's offices have carried out power outage simulations in recent weeks to prep for energy shortages, Reuters have reported. Deutsche Bank also told the outlet that it turned off hot water in bathrooms and changed office temperatures to cut down on energy use. And Wall Street Stock Exchange said it has backup generators ready in case blackouts hit. A new report published by the Institute for Energy Research highlighted that the entire nation will scramble with extraordinary challenges in its final quarter, as utilities will need to use more expensive natural gas to generate electricity due to less available coal and nuclear capacity and less hydroelectric generation caused by a drought in the western states. If there is a shock to the United States energy system from a late-season hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, a colder than normal winter, or an ice storm in key producing areas, natural gas and electricity prices may escalate even higher, causing more Americans to have trouble paying their energy bills and staying safe this winter, it continued. On the same note, energy market expert Dr. Paul Dean described the situation as frightening and shocking, emphasizing that at the end of the day, consumers will have to bear the brunt of this crisis on their own. The prices that we're seeing for gas at the moment, the increases in the last 2 weeks are frightening. They're really shocking. So the outlook is not good for supply companies because when you generate most of your electricity from a fuel that costs a huge price, unfortunately, we, as consumers, have to pay for that. In several states, requests for help have been ticking up even before the cold weather sets in. At this time last year, Energy Services Incorporated in Wisconsin was getting a record 300 calls a day to its customer care center. Now the nonprofit group, the main LIHEAP administrator in the state, is fielding more than 1,000 calls a day. The need hasn't gone away, is accelerating at such a rapid pace, said Timothy Brewer, Energy Services Executive Director. Keeping the heat and power on, which is a basic necessity, has become an unaffordable luxury for millions of Americans, most vulnerable at-risk households. Exposing the risks for the most vulnerable in society, the organization said the share of income spent by poor families in America on their energy bills would more than double in the coming months, from 23% in 2020 to 47%.
Shalom, Zaquan. Yabashim Abashab Rakatah. Shalom.
This year. This nightmarish energy crisis is gaining proportions that would be completely unimaginable just a few months ago. Now, more than ever, it is time to stock up on batteries, candles, solar-powered devices, and non-perishables, because the threat of blackouts and extended energy supply shortages are about to become our new reality. We're going to experience some exceedingly painful months, and many other unpleasant surprises may be headed our way this winter.
Hey, Lord willing, man. Lord willing, because Jake is hard-headed, and they refuse to repent, man. So Lord willing, man. Humbly, Lord willing, and that he keep us covered, man, through all this madness that's going on. Lord willing, man. Because we ready to get the hell out of here, man. I'm sick of this place.
And of all the
Watch this. I can show you how to get the sweetest deals online when you shop from major retailers like Amazon and Target. You can drop.
is what it looks like.
So like it.
The alarm bells are ringing louder and louder, and China is facing a mutiny. Yeah, a mutiny. Here's what it looks like. But wait, a mutiny against China should not be possible. The whole world witnessed how Hong Kong protests failed to make a difference. But this is different. It's a revolt against mortgage, and it's bringing the Chinese economy to its knees. Now, if you've been paying attention, the mortgage crisis is not to be taken lightly. And for China, it's much more than that. GDP growth has stalled to its lowest pace in 4 decades and stands at just 0.4%, a world away from the government's expectations of 5.5% for 2022. But to get the whole picture of how deep the rot runs, let's address the debt bomb. China's total public debt now exceeds 300% of GDP, 60% higher than the average across other countries. This debt-to-GDP ratio is growing at 11% per year. China's GDP, though, has grown far less than 11% annually during the past decade, so the debt is comfortably outpacing growth. Youth unemployment is at 20%, the highest in recorded history. And then there's the war that has caused unprecedented supply chain headaches. China's middle-class consumers are already preparing for the economic winter as they rush to buy close to expired food at discounted rates. To top it all off, China is fighting an unwinnable fight against the pandemic. More on that later, but first let's address the problem that's hastening China's economic decline: the property bubble. The property sector has essentially been the driver of the Chinese economy for 3 decades. As of 2022, real estate makes up 30% of the world's second largest economy. That's double the size of America's property sector and 3 times that of Europe. Ever since the 2008 recession, the Chinese stock market has remained stagnant, so real estate has been the preferred investment sector for most Chinese people. Right now, about 70% of household wealth is tied up with real estate. But there's a big structural problem there. Most of the money generated in the market comes from pre-sold homes that make up 90% of all property sales. So the buyer pays the mortgage on a development that is yet to be completed. The developer takes the money, puts it into new projects. The existing projects are completed with borrowed money, and it practically becomes a Ponzi scheme where the asset does not exist. But what happens when the bank no longer provides the debt to cover construction?
You're the guy with the gun, the person who would do anything to protect the ones you love. But did you know you could go to jail?
Developers are yet to deliver 40% of all the homes they sold between 2013 and 2020. Consumer confidence in the market is at an all-time low, and home prices have fallen for a record 11 months in a row. Things came to a head last month when thousands of home buyers came together to boycott mortgage installments. The boycotts have spread to at least 320 projects in 99 cities, making it perhaps the largest mortgage protest in China's history. Stop Mortgage is trending on China's social media sites. Developers are desperate and offering gifts to those still buying. The value of the mortgages affected by the boycotts amounts to $300 billion, which is just 5% of all mortgage lending. But the
Hey, and tell you in Second Ezra, right? In Second Ezra talks about Moab. Let me get this. In Isaiah, this is Isaiah 15:1. It reads, the burden of Moab, because in the night Ar of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence, because in the night Ker of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence, right? Because Moab made themselves like Babylon the Great. This is Jeremiah 48. This Jeremiah 48 in verse 2, it reads, there shall be no more praise of Moab in Heshbon. They have devised evil against it. Come and let us cut it off from being a nation. Also, thou shalt be cut down, O madman. The sword shall pursue thee. You see, a voice of crying shall be from Haranam, spoiling and great destruction. Moab is destroyed. Her little ones have caused a cry to be heard. It's a Moab is destroyed. Her little ones cause a cry to be heard. For in the going up, it says of Lahith, continually weeping shall go up. For in the going down of Haranam, the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, save yourselves, and be like the heath in the wilderness. For because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, same thing is said by Esau, and when you're reading Ezekiel 28, for because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken, and Chemosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. And the spoiler shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as Yahweh hath spoken. Now this is cold. Listen what the Lord say, verse 9. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away. For the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. They got to pay too, man. Verse 11 say, Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he have settled on his lees, and have not been emptied from vessel to vessel. Neither have he gone down into captivity. Therefore, his taste remaineth in him, and his scent is not changed. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send unto him wanderers that shall cause him to wonder, and shall empty his vessels and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their confidence. How say ye, we are mighty and strong men for the war? Moab is spoiled and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are gone down to slaughter, saith the king, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. Okay? All ye that are about him, bemoan him, and all ye that know his name, say, how is the strong staff broken, and the beautiful rod? The daughter that doest inhabit Dibon, come down from thy glory, and sit in thirst, for the spoilers of Moab shall come upon thee, and he shall destroy thy strongholds. Okay? Verse 20 say, Moab is confounded, for it is broken down. Howl and cry. Tell ye it in Hanan, that Moab is spoiled. So these devils finna get it too. They think they finna be the next superpower. And Lord got a trick for them devils too, man.
protests are symbolic of the wider trend of falling confidence in real estate. A frenzy has taken over China as property companies are now demolishing entire cities of half-finished
Hold on. I
buildings,
gotta read that.
with mortgage holders
That's
refusing.
beautiful. Let's read this. GMS in his likeness, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 8. I have heard the reproach of Moab and the revelings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Oh, when you read in Judith, it tell you how Moab and Ammon and Edom came together to cut off our water, man. Zephaniah 2 and 9. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of, come on, man, even the breeding of nettles and salt pits and a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. Come on, man. Yeah. Fire. This is from Anointed Refreshings, Psalm 60 and 8. Moab is my watchpot. Over Edom will I cast my shoe. Philistia triumph die because of me. Man, it's going down, man. When you read in Jeremiah 25, all these nations finna pay, man. Because all these devils had their hands on us, man. And the Lord said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm, man.
To pay up, many of the stalled projects may never be built. Thousands of partially completed buildings sit deserted across the country, with reports of as many as 50 million apartments being empty. New house sales have kept falling over the last 12 months, marking the longest decline since China restructured the private property market 3 decades ago. If home sales continue to plummet, 1 in 5 companies in China will go belly up. The inflated property bubble is on the verge of a crash. But did you know that most of this catastrophe is self-inflicted? Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping. Back in the 60s, Mao Zedong, the founder of today's China, was at the height of his popularity. He was revered by his countrymen as a father figure. But it was one of his economic policies that spelled disaster for the country. In 1958, Mao initiated the Great Leap Forward to shift the economy from agriculture to industry. However, what followed was the greatest famine in China's history, wiping out 50 million people. Many who survived were forced to eat grass, and Mao's legacy was never the same. For the most part of his rule, Xi Jinping has powered the Chinese dream, taking the country on the verge of overtaking the United States. However, in the wake of the pandemic, he signaled an economic restructuring through common prosperity, a policy that critics have labeled as the Great Leap Backwards.
My friend used to pay $163 for car insurance. Now look how much he pays.
Under this policy, the state has introduced curbs on business, and the property sector has felt the most impact. Houses are for living in, not for speculation. Xi Jinping has famously said this on many occasions and introduced policies to tame the construction sector. In August 2020, China issued the 3 red lines, limiting how much developers could borrow. Less borrowing meant less money to complete projects, and soon we saw China become a country of ghost towns. China has at least 65 million empty homes, enough to house the population of France. It offers a glimpse into the country's massive housing market problem.
And I did a video about a week ago or so that China got 33 cities locked down over there, man. And the people complaining because ain't no food, man. And they got the cities blocked off. 33 cities they got locked down, and they got them blocked off with martial law, man. Troops at every border, man, of these cities, man. And that's going to come to Babylon the Great, man. As the scripture said, you ain't going to be able to go into another city. So 33 cities in China locked down, and they was crying about food, man.
With money drying up, the top 9 real estate companies in China have lost $79 billion of wealth since 2020. But there's one company in particular that triggered the decline and may well take the world down with it. The company that is bringing down China. Evergrande is at the center of the crisis that is hurting China. The real estate giant owns 1,300 projects in 280 Chinese cities. But as Beijing started clamping down on borrowing, Evergrande lost access to capital. Most of its projects were stalled. The company started defaulting on its $300 billion debt, making it the most indebted company in the world. Evergrande has continuously missed debt deadlines. Its billion-dollar headquarters in Hong Kong is in receivership, while investors and homeowners have lined out in the streets to protest. The toxic fallout from Evergrande's episode is now spreading across the economy. With consumer confidence at its lowest in the property market, the biggest developers are looking at a slump. Country Garden, China's biggest developer by sales, reported a 96% plunge in net profit in the first half of the year. Out of 4,800 Chinese companies listed in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing, 53% reported an earnings drop. That was close to the pandemic levels back in 2020, when 54% of listed companies posted a profit decline. By another measure, though, the start of this year was worse. 900 companies recorded losses in the first half compared to 780 in 2020. So far, China has not made any extraordinary efforts to save Evergrande. Experts have drawn comparisons between Evergrande and former Wall Street giant Lehman Brothers, a company that was deemed too big to fail, but the United States decided to let it collapse during the 2008 recession. Whether China will try to save Evergrande remains to be seen. For now, their major worry is that other developers are following the same path.
You see, hold on. They got a damn Hilton over there, man. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 46. In thy Asia, that are partaker of the hope of Babylon and of the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that thou might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Because China was an ally to Babylon the Great. Thou hast followed her, they have followed Babylon, that is hated in all her works. By who? By Yahweh Shema Shah. Thou hast followed her, that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith power, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Yeah, man, what heat? Those intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastened with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. Would I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, saith Yahweh, if thou hast not always slain my chosen, exalting the stroke of thy hand, and saying over their dead when thou wast drunken, set forth thy beauty of thy countenance, the reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom, therefore shalt thou receive recompense. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith Yahweh, even so shall power do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. And that's why I read the one in Isaiah. What was that? Isaiah? Let's see. 15, Isaiah 15:1, the burden of Moab. It say, because in the night hour of Moab is laid waste and brought to desolate and brought to silence, because of the night of Ker of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence. And I went to one in Jeremiah 48. Let me get this real quick in Judith. What's that? Judith 8, I think it is. So in Judith 8, I just want to read these names here. Because what these devils did, man, was these devils cut off our water, man. And it was Moab, Ammon, and Edom. Let me get it here. So in Judith 7, it reads, then came unto him, because they came to this guy. This guy name is Holophanes. It said the next day, Judah 7:1, the next day Holophanes commanded all his army and all his people which were come to take his part, that they should remove their camp against Bethuel, to take aforehand the ascents of the hill country, and to make war against the children of Israel. Then the strong men removed their camps in that day, and the army of the men of war was 170,000 footmen and 12,000 horsemen, besides the baggage and other men that were afoot among them, a very great multitude. So it's reading the point now. So it say, then came unto him all the chief of the children of Esau, and all the governors of the people of Moab, and the captains of the sea coast, and said, let our Lord not hear a word, that there be not an overflow in thy army. For this people, the children of Israel, do not trust in their spears, but in the height of the mountains wherein they dwell, because it is not easy to come up to the top of their mountains. Now therefore, my Lord, fight not against them in battle array, and they shall not so much as one of thy people perish. Remain in thy camp, and keep all the men of thy army, and let thy servants go into their hands the fountain of water, which issue forth of the foot of the mountain. So here are these devils. So it say, so the camp, verse 17, so the camp of the children of Ammon departed, and with them 5,000 of the Syrians, and pitched in the valley, and took the waters and the fountains of the waters of the children of Israel. So it say, then the children of Esau went up with the children of Ammon, and camped in the hill country over against Dothan, and they set some of them towards the south, and towards the east over against, it say, Ecrabel, which is near unto Cushi, that is upon the brook Machmor. And the rest of the army of the Syrians camped in the plain, and covered the face of the whole land, and their tents and their carriages were pitched to a very great multitude. So it say, just want to read the point. So it say right here, it say, so you had Edom, Ammon, and Moab, man. Okay? And that's why that's why the Edom, Ammon, Moab, Ham, and Ishmael, man. The Lord got them devils got to pay, man. So yeah, I want to make that point, man. The Lord got it in for these devils, man. Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, and Ham, man. And Edom, Moab, Ammon, and Ham, man, and Ishmael.
For now, their major worry is that other developers are following the same path. Top companies like Hesa Group, Shimeo Group, and Sunac China have defaulted on $18 billion of offshore dollar bonds and $2.5 billion worth of debt just in the past 12 months. But then again, the hope for recovery dims further when you look at the draconian lockdown measures in place across the country.
You heard him? Hold on. He said draconian lockdown measures. Where they get that from? They get it from Esau, man.
The hope for recovery dims further when you look at the draconian lockdown measures in place across the country. 2.5 years after the pandemic, most of the world has learned to live with the pandemic. China, on the other hand, has followed a strict zero COVID policy, locking down major cities and closing ports. Also, the country only allows the use of Chinese vaccines, halting the way of a quick recovery and normal living. Across China, at least 74 cities have been closed off at different times in 2 weeks. 8 megacities have gone into full or partial lockdowns.
Hold on,
close to 300 million people.
Hold on. Man, this coming to Babylon the Great, man. You might well get ready, man. Hold on.
As after the pandemic, most of the world has learned to live with the pandemic. China, on the other hand, has followed a strict zero COVID policy, locking down major cities and closing ports. Also, the country only allows the use of Chinese vaccines, halting the way of a quick recovery and normal living. Across China, at least 74 cities have been closed off at different times in 2 weeks. 8 megacities have gone into full or partial lockdowns, and close to 300 million people have been cut off.
Come on, man. Hold on. I got to get this. It's 2nd Ezra. Hey, man, this is coming to America, man. Let me see. I just want to read the point here. Man, that's heavy, man. Where is that at? So let's say this is 2nd Ezra 16 in verse 27 reads, so that one man should desire to see another and to hear his voice, for of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 in the field, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the cliffs of the rocks. Where is that at? Maybe it's 2nd Ezra 15. Let's see. Wow. 74 cities locked down. I think it's 2nd Ezra 15. Let's see. Right. 2nd Ezra 15 and 17. They say a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. That's heavy, man.
Closing ports. Also, the country only allows the use of Chinese vaccines, halting the way of a quick recovery and normal living. Across China, at least 74 cities have been closed off at different times in 2 weeks. 8 megacities have gone into full or partial lockdowns, and close to 300 million people have been cut off. According to Goldman Sachs estimates, cities impacted by lockdowns account for 35% of China's GDP. However, analysts don't see an end to the measures. China is so far deep into this policy that moving away from it now will cause a major disruption. More importantly, taking a step back now will make the original policy seem like a mistake. President Xi will not want to admit to a mistake, especially when he's so close to taking the office for a 3rd time. In the meantime, China is facing a crash of everything, and the global impact of it may well be the preamble for another great recession. Global impact. China's collapse is hardly a cause for celebration for Western powers. Back in 2008, it was China that bailed out the world economy with a $586 billion stimulus. But we're now in 2022, and the whole world, not just China, is at risk. China's economy accounts for 1/5 of global GDP, and many countries thrive off trade with China. But with the property sector coming to a standstill and GDP growth inching towards zero, China is facing a crisis of demand. The country needs less iron and steel, less timber, less coal, and a lot less oil. So trade partners like Brazil, Australia, Malaysia, and the Middle East will feel the impacts. For example, China purchases 34% of Brazilian exports, generating a trade surplus of approximately 33.
A lot of people don't know this, but the best way to get your guns is not by buying them at gun shops. Like 97.
He's always talking about damn guns.
$33 billion for the South American country. Then there's the United States. Despite the aggressive posturing, the world's two leading economies remain each other's biggest trading partners. The United States purchases more than $300 billion of Chinese goods each year. U.S. pension funds, individuals, and investors have $2.1 trillion tied up in Chinese companies listed on American exchanges. China's foreign currency debt stands at $2.4 trillion, and a slumping China puts all of it at risk. And it's not just the West. Sellers of energy and coal like Mongolia and raw material and mineral exporters in Africa are all feeling the impacts of reduced demand. China's Belt and Road Initiative has projects worth $1 trillion in 139 countries around the globe. If Chinese real estate fails, the whole world could be left with unfinished buildings, unpaved roads.
That's why Lord say, woe to thee, Asia, man.
And unattended power generation plants. According to the World Economic Forum,
and we talk about this a lot too, about the drugs, man. Most of the drugs in America come from China, man. And just wait till you can't get no more of these drugs, these devils, man. Most of them Edomites on these pills, man. Wait, just wait till the drugs get cut off, man. I did a lesson on that a little while ago. How China produces most of the pills that come to America, man. Wait till that get cut off. And you're going to see real demons out here, real time, man. They already bugged out now on pills, on their medications. Wait till they don't got them, man. You're going to see pandemonium, man.
Percentage decrease in China's GDP causes a 0.3% contraction in the world economy. So anything that's ailing China is ailing the world.
Exactly.
2008 was a crisis of mortgage. It was the crash of housing. But this is the crash of everything. There's a gas shock in Europe, interest rate hikes in the US, and a real estate crisis exacerbated by never-ending lockdowns in China. The combined effect of it all is a giant cloud of a global recession. The threat is big enough for a consensus that a cold winter is coming for consumers everywhere. China might be at the forefront, but no one is safe.
Hey, man. Boy, look at here. So, let me pull this back up. I got two precepts I'm going to read, man. And we're going to close. The point has been made. Hey, these devils is going down, man. Hey, and it's all because of truth, man. Let me read this in Hosea. Hosea 4:1, it reads, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, ye children of Israel. For the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, which is these Edomites, those that control of the earth. Because there is no truth, nor mercy, because they tell you in James 2:13, they have showed no mercy, man. Right? Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of power in the land. Let me get that. Because these devils have showed us no mercy, man. When you read in James 5, it say they have kept back by fraud, man. Right? Before you get your check, they done took taxes out of it, man. And in the ancient time, the law is a law, man. You're supposed to get paid daily, not bi-weekly, not weekly or bi-weekly, man. It say James 2:13, for he shall have judgment without mercy that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. So Hosea 4:1, hear the word of Yahweh, ye children of Israel, for Yahweh have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth. They whitewashed everything. right? Job 9:24. He covered the face of the judge thereof. If not, where and who is he? There's no Chinese and Japanese Jesus. There's no Hamite. There's no so-called African or Ishmaelite or Arab. There's no Elamite Jesus. There's only a white one because there is no truth. No truth. They whitewashed. We have been living under the philosophies of the so-called white man since they came out the caves, man. We've been living on these devils' doctrines of life, man. The rudiments of the world, man. You want to make it here in Babylon the Great, you have to take on this devil's philosophy, man. Otherwise, you ain't going to make it. Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery. This devil promotes all this. You can kill a nigga and get away with it if you got the money. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery. And you can commit adultery and get away with it. They break out and blood touches blood, man. So because of that, the Lord say, this is Ezekiel 14:13. It reads, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously. How did these devils trespass against the Lord? Let's read it. Isaiah 24:5. And it reads, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. That's why we constantly tell you, the only ones going to be left is the elites of the Edomites and the elect of Israel, man. Everybody else going to be burnt up, man. So, Ezekiel 14:13. Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously. These devils don't do the land Sabbath. That's why there's no minerals. That's why there's no nutrients in the food. And now we eating GMO foods, man. Lab grown meat, man. But these devils is eating real beef. They eating real chickens and turkey and whatever else, man. Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, and this devil done broke everything, then will I stretch out my hand upon it and will break the staff of bread thereof, and will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it. Verse 20, verse 21, it say, for thus saith Yahweh Shemawashah power, how much more will I send my four sword judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword and the famine and the noisome beast and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast. He said, I will send my four sword judgments upon Jerusalem. And it's you jakes, man. And this devil makes us go off. That's why he's known as the man of sin. They can't commit sin because they wasn't given the laws. But they promote the laws. They push these laws to make you Israelites go off, man. So Lord willing, this was edifying. Got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elder bishops and elders, a great millstone, who well, who teach well. While the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not, in a sincere salutation to all the occupant pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four ends of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Awad who are listening and learning. You few sisters who are listening and learning. Always edifying. Till next time, I say shalom. Wa abab, the wa for tuning in. May Yahweh Shema Shah continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. Shalom.